All right, I had a request to make a video on creating this part in Fusion, so we're going to do that. You might have noticed the part is symmetric, so we're going to start with the center of our first sketch on the origin. If we look at our dimensions here, it's 6 by 2 as viewed from the top, which I'm on the top plane here. So I'm going to go 6 inches there and 2 inches there, and that's good for, let me hit enter, and that finishes that sketch. We're going to extrude that, and if you look at the drawing, the only number we have for extrude that is 0.75. We could do math and get 0.5 and then add this part, but the way it's drawn suggests we should extrude at 0.75 and then cut away to the left and right side of it. So that's what we'll do there. So extrude this by 0.75. Of course, your first extrusion should always be new body. Next, we'll make another sketch. We're on the top of the part. Another center rectangle here like this. Oops, I clicked in the wrong place. Notice how I didn't really get on the origin here. And so even if I latch this part at the top here, it's not going to be latched at the bottom down there. So I'm going to escape and do that again. Center rectangle on the origin. There we go. Got that blue square preview and a blue X preview there. So that is anchored to the origin and to the edge there. Again, that width there is 1.5 inches. So we go in here, and I'll do a quick sketch dimension of that edge there to 1.5. That's a good little sketch there. Let's finish that. Now this time we're going to extrude, but we're going to actually extrude the two outer bits, and we're going to actually do a cut to pull them away by a distance of, if you check here, 0.25. So we're going to cut these two sides off 0.25 inches. Now if you just type in 0.25, you'll see that it gives you an error. That's because you're trying to cut upwards and there's nothing there. So you have to make it negative 0.25 to get the desired effect. The next thing we're going to do is make another sketch on this surface of a center rectangle, again with its center on the origin. And I'm just going to click right now and not dimension it, because something I want to point out, if you look at this sketch here, this drawing here, it shows it's 1 inch this way. It does not actually say the dimension this way of this square opening in the center. So just as we assumed, even though it doesn't say that all of these things are symmetric about the center of the object, we're going to assume that this is a square, that these two sides are equal. They look roughly equal. It isn't provided in the drawing, so that's incumbent upon the person reading this to kind of make some assumptions. And that assumption in this case will be that the top edge and the side edge are equal, and they both are valued at 1 inch. So we'll set that up by doing a constraint, an equal constraint of the top edge and either the left or the right edge there. That forces this to be a square, and now we can just dimension one of the sides to fully dimension the whole thing. So we do that, and that finishes that sketch. See, it's all black. There's no blue on there, so it's fully defined. Okay, now we're going to take that profile there, and we're going to cut it. And this time we're going to cut on our extent type instead of doing by a number. Though we could type in 0.75 and it would look right. To represent design intent, we're just going to say through all. So even if you went back later and made this part taller or shorter, it would still cut through everything. Also, again, we can't click OK because it's trying to cut upward and it needs to cut downward. So when you go all, you get the option of flip. So instead of making a negative number, you just flip and it negative through all. It cuts back to the thing. Your preview looks right, so you can click OK. This next bit, I want to talk about a little bit here. What we have here is we have a hole on this side and a hole on this side, but the dimension we're given isn't the distance from center to one side. We're given from one side to the other. And so the best way to set that up when you have two objects equally spaced around a plane, like the center plane here would be, is to use something called a center line. This allows you to not have to do the math to figure out the 2 inches and then do mirror and all of that. So I'm going to show you the proper way that an engineer, somebody who expects to maybe have to come back and make changes to this part, would actually do the CAD on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a sketch on this top surface here. You could do it down on this surface here, but I just put it here because these holes are through all anyway. And now we're going to create a line, but This line, we're going to come over here to our sketch palette. If your sketch palette is diminished like that, you enlarge it like that. Either one works. But you want to choose your line type, and you don't want construction. You don't want a regular line, which is what it'll first do. You want what's called a center line. So we're going to choose center line. I'm going to click on the origin and go straight up. Make sure that that number over here to the left, the one that I can't quite catch up with here, the one that says degrees in that box that's moving, make sure that says 90 when you do your next click. And so then I can hit escape to turn off that line tool. So now I have a center line on the origin, perfectly vertical. I know it's vertical because I've got this perpendicular symbol here. You might get one of these symbols on it. There's lots of ways it could indicate. It could indicate that it's parallel to this edge. Lots of ways to indicate that it's vertical, but it's vertical. It's 90 degrees. All right, now that that's in place, I'm going to draw a point. This is the way I establish circles when I'm making a circular opening. I always do it with a sketch that has a point where I want that circular opening. And then with the feature we do is the hole feature. You could do it by drawing a circle that is the diameter if it's a nice, clean, round, plain hole. But a good engineer will do it using the hole feature because it gives them the ability to change it to specially engineered sized holes, things with threads in them or tapers or countersinks and all of that. So it's always a good idea if you're making a hole in something, rather than just doing a circle, go ahead and do it as you do a sketch with a point, and then we'll come back to that point after we come out of the sketch and do the hole feature. Now, this point right now can literally be anywhere. The first thing we know is, if we look at this, again, it doesn't say it on here, but it's logical to assume that's evenly spaced top to bottom. It's, it's horizontal to the center of the part. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a horizontal vertical relation from that point to the center, and then I'm going to hit escape. So you see these little glyphs here indicate that this point is constrained now to be stay on that red line there, to be horizontal from the origin. The next thing we need to do is dimension it. Now here's where the payoff of the center line comes. When you click on the center line and then you click on the point, you will get the opportunity to dimension it across the center line, evenly spaced to either side. You're anticipating that you're going to make one hole and then mirror it across the center line. And so you can put in the number that's given to you on the drawing. So I did not have to take this 4 and divide it by 2 and go one direction. Because I put a center line in, it allows me to dimension it across that center line where my plane of reflection will be when I mirror my hole. So that sets it up using the number that we were given due to design intent on the drawing. I finished the sketch. Now what I do is I do the hole extrusion, as I said, the hole feature. I always do from sketch. You could do a single hole, but we're going to do from sketch because we made a sketch explicitly for this, and this will link the two. So you change the sketch to move the holes. You don't have to go in and change just the location of a single point. So from sketch, then we want to select the point. That's this point here. Now it gives us a preview based on all of this stuff. The first thing is the extent. As we come down here, we want to change that through all. And then the next thing is the hole type. And we do want just a simple hole, just a plain hole here. But the diameter, we want to come down here and change this to 0.5. And the reason I'm getting 0.5 is from this drawing, this dimension right there, 0.5. So a 0.5 diameter hole through all, just a simple hole. And I say, okay, now again, the reason we're using this instead of drawing a circle is that if we were to go back later and say, you know what, we actually want that to be a hole specifically to fit around a metric screw of size M5. And it'll automatically figure out what diameter that is for us. So if you had to make a more complex kind of hole, you could do that. But we, this one isn't right now, but you never know when that might be the case. So 0.5 inches is what we want to do and say, okay. So that has made one hole. Now, under the Create menu, there is an option called Mirror. I actually have my quick access mirror here because I use it fairly often, but what we want to do now is we want to do what they call mirror. Mirrors reflect things. The things we want to reflect, though, I never do object type bodies. I always mirror features. And the feature you can find down here in your timeline, we're going to mirror this hole we made. So we want this to be reflected. That's the object that we want to do. Make sure you only have that one object selected. And then you come down here and select mirror plane. And this tells you what is the surface that is exactly halfway between the two objects you're going to, two features you're going to eventually make. And you get a preview when you do this. So when I click on this mirror here, which is the desired one, you see it gives me a preview that it would reflect it over here. That's what we want. If you happen to click the wrong plane, like if I were to click this one, now it's trying to reflect it around itself, which is really bizarre. It doesn't give me the preview I want. I can just come over to the mirror plane and click X. Same thing goes if you click another object that you really don't want to reflect. You can either click it a second time. No, you can't click it. Okay, you have to click X on. Oh wait, I did mirror plane there. Sorry. Object. Come down, select the object, and then plane, select the plane. If you select the wrong one, you click the X and reselect. So if I click the wrong object, I could come back and do it again. Anyway, the compute type, don't worry about that. Honestly, I don't fully know what compute type does. Well, if it doesn't reflect properly, I'll just try the other two options. There's adjust, optimize, and identical. I don't know. I just click adjust and say okay. So there are our holes in the proper locations. Last thing we need to do is put in some fillets. If you look at this, the inner hole has fillets of 0.125 on all four inner corners, and the outer edges are filleted at 0.5. So let's put in fillet there, and that edge, and that edge, and that edge, and that edge. Now you'll notice I did not type in the number yet. The reason I didn't type in the number, I selected all my surfaces first, or my edges first, is because once you type in a number, then it doesn't really want to accept another edge. Let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna deselect this one by clicking it a second time. Oops, clicked the wrong one. Let me click that. Click it a second time and it unselects it. Come on, deselect it. There we go. So I only have 3 chosen right now. You can tell because it says 3 edges there. I'm going to go ahead and put in the, what was it, 0.125? Was that right? 0.125 radius, yeah. I'm going to type in 0.125. Oops, click the wrong thing. Go here. 0.125 radius. And you'll notice that it rounded this one, it rounded that one, rounded that one. It did not round this one. I want it to add this one. If you need to add one after you put in the number, on your keyboard in the lower left-hand corner, there's a button, CRTL, Control. If you hold that down, then you can go back and add a line, or you can even remove a line. Hold Control and click it again. So that's the way we had it. I hold Control, I add this one, now release, I got all 4 of them chosen. So that's a little trick if you're changing that. One other thing I want to mention before I leave this about fillets is there are actually two different kinds. There are 3 different kinds of fillets. That's interesting. I don't know why it's not offering the third one. But the choice here is constant. There are other types that we've used at other times. Anyway, that's ready to go. I click OK. I'm going to click Home here to take a quick look at it. Looks pretty good so far. We're going to do another set of fillets. We're going to do this edge. We're going to make those 0.5. Oh, I made that mistake. I even hit Enter. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to right-click this, and I'm going to click Edit Feature. And now I'm going to hold the Control button down and click this edge. And while I'm still holding that button, now I'll click this edge. When I release Control, it gives me a preview of all 3. I haven't said OK yet. If I roll this over this way, I hold Control down, I can click the 4th one. I certainly could have clicked all 4 and then done 0.5, and it would have been a better workflow, but I wanted to illustrate to you how to work around it. One thing I want to point out, I did not do 4 fillets here and I didn't do 4 separate fillets and 4 more separate fillets. Since these were all the same size, I put them in one feature with all of them selected at the same time. These were a different size, so I put them in a different feature. I really think it's sloppy. I can show you what I mean. One possibility you could have done is you could have just done it like this, but it's sloppy work. I'll show you what I mean here. And I see students do this all the time. They'll turn on the fillet and they'll do one corner. And then they'll do another fillet. And they'll click the next corner and they'll put in that value. And then they'll do another fillet and put in the next corner and then put in that value. And what you'll notice is down here in my timeline, I have one fillet here that does all four, and I got one for that, and one for that, and one for that. And that's silly, and it's stupid. So don't do it that way. If you're doing separate fillets for every single corner, and they're all the same size, and all like kind of mirrored around each other, just don't do that. It's much better to instead take the one fillet that is of a type, edit it, hold down the control button, and add the others that are of that same size, same type, same kind of area. So that's a much neater design here. All of these, if you changed one, logically you would change all of them. So that's all done. Now one last thing, if we look at our drawings here for this base, we see that it says, change appearance to red smooth powder coat. Save as base. So the way you change your appearance is under the modify menu. There's appearance. Yes, appearance. Choose that. It takes a moment for this dialog box to come up. Now, this dialog box, in this design, currently we only have steel satin appearance. That's automatically in there. It's the default, I believe, for everyone. So we need to find other appearances to add. So if you go under Fusion Appearances down here, you have a series of options here. Powder coat is a type of paint, so we'll choose paint. And then we see powder coat rough and powder coat smooth. This said powder coat smooth powder coat. So we're going to expand the powder coat smooth. And then you can see there's a number of different colors here. Now you'll notice on mine, some are light gray and some are dark gray with this little arrow. The deal is that to save computing power, they don't automatically give you all of the appearances as part of Fusion 360. You have to download them. So for you guys who are doing this for the first time, you will not have powder coat red downloaded. You'll have to click the little arrow thing here, and what it'll do is it'll take a moment, and then it'll turn like this. Once it's like this, that you no longer have the download button there, then you can click on this and drag it up to this design. Once you have a particular appearance in the design box up here, now you can click it and drop it onto your part. And so that's how you change the appearance of the part. So this part is complete. What we need to do now is save it. I want you to call it base, B-A-S-E, and I do want you to save it in your Learning Assemblies folder that we've already created before. If you don't have a Learning Assemblies folder, save it somewhere else and talk to me in class and I'll show you how to make a folder and move it. I already have one in here, so I'm not going to save mine, but if you choose the right one, Learning Assemblies, this one here, and you can do this back again. So base is going to save in Learning Assemblies, and you click save, it will put it there. I'm not going to. Cancel for me, save for you. That's complete. Thank you for your attention.